It was early morning in Pipeline Estate, a neighborhood just starting to wake up. The streets were already alive with activity as business people hurriedly opened their shops for the day. The sweet aroma of freshly fried mandazi and chapati filled the air as street vendors busily cooked, serving the growing line of hungry customers waiting eagerly for breakfast. The sky was clear, promising a beautiful day ahead. Children, backpacks bouncing on their shoulders, rushed down the paths on their way to school, while employed residents walked briskly toward bus stops and matatus, eager not to be late for work. From behind a bright yellow gate leading to the Amani apartments, a young man emerged. He was strikingly handsome, tall, with dark skin that glistened slightly under the morning sun. His neatly trimmed beard framed his strong jawline, and his well-built, muscular physique made him stand out. His name was James, and at around 30 years old, he carried himself with quiet confidence. That particular day, James wasn't going to work. It was his day off, and his outfit reflected his relaxed mood. He wore a red Manchester United shirt paired with blue tracksuit pants and white Nike sports shoes, a casual but stylish look. Feeling hungry, James decided to grab some breakfast. He walked over to the stall where a crowd had gathered to buy mandazi. Joining the queue, he found himself in third position. Directly in front of him stood a young woman, strikingly beautiful, even from behind, also waiting to place her order. At first, James's mind wandered as he waited. His thoughts were elsewhere, perhaps about his plans for the day or simply enjoying the lively sounds of the bustling estate. But then his eyes fell on the woman's figure. The moment his gaze landed on her waist, his attention snapped back to the present. His eyes widened in surprise and admiration as he took in her curviest figure, especially the way her body looked in the tight, stylish miniskirt she was wearing. Instinctively, he placed his hands on his hips, standing in an akimbo position, unable to hide his reaction. "Wow, what am I seeing here?" he muttered to himself, his voice a mix of astonishment and excitement. "This young lady looks hot." As he remained in line, he couldn't take his eyes off her, completely captivated by her appearance. James slowly reached out and tapped the young woman's shoulder, his face glowing with excitement and curiosity. The woman turned around slowly to see who had touched her. When she faced him, James was stunned. She was incredibly beautiful. Her hair was neatly braided, falling perfectly around her face. Like James, she had a rich, dark skin tone that radiated under the morning light. Her figure was striking, with an amazing chest that perfectly complemented her outfit. She wore a crisp white shirt, a black miniskirt, and low-heeled shoes, looking effortlessly stylish. The young woman's expression was blank at first, as her eyes met James's. "Hello, my name is James. What about you?" James said enthusiastically, extending his right hand toward her for a handshake. As he waited for her response, James couldn't stop admiring her features, her round, expressive eyes, and sweet, inviting lips. The young woman's face softened into a smile as she extended her hand as well. "I'm Amina," she said gently, a slight blush spreading across her cheeks as she lowered her gaze shyly toward the ground. James felt a surge of boldness and continued with a charming compliment. "You look very beautiful," he said sincerely. "I can't help but give thanks to God for his good work. I think he must have created you very early in the morning when he wasn't tired and had plenty of soil to work with." As he spoke, James stepped a little closer, and Amina caught a whiff of his pleasant perfume, which made her heart flutter for a moment. Amina let out a small smile, shaking her head slightly. "Thanks for the compliment, but I feel like you're flattering me," she said with a playful tone. James's expression grew serious as his voice deepened. "No, I'm not flattering you. I'm being serious," he assured her with confidence. Then, curious to know more about her, he asked, "Are you from this neighborhood?" Amina nodded, her voice cheerful as she replied, "Yes, but I live a couple of blocks down, past the market." The two continued chatting warmly for a while, their conversation flowing easily. Eventually, they decided to exchange phone numbers, each promising to keep in touch. With their breakfast ready, they both bought their mandazis, shared a final smile, and then went their separate ways, each carrying a spark of excitement about what might come next. Later that night, James lay wide awake in his bed, unable to sleep. The inside of his house was calm and quiet, but the silence was constantly interrupted by the faint thumping of loud music drifting in from nearby clubs. As he stared up at the ceiling, his mind began to wander. Suddenly, a warm thought crossed his mind, his encounter with Amina earlier that morning. The memory of her smile brought an uncontrollable grin to his face. He felt a rush of excitement, his heart beating a little faster. Turning to his side, James stretched out his left hand toward the small drawer beside his bed where his smartphone rested. His fingers brushed against the cool surface of the phone before firmly grabbing it. Unlocking the screen, he began scrolling through his contacts, his thumb moving steadily until he found the name he was looking for, Amina. Without hesitation, he tapped on her number and pressed the call button. A few seconds later, the line connected, and he spoke with a tone of excitement and warmth. "Hello, Amina. This is James calling. How are you doing? Have you slept already?" A soft, pleasant voice came through the speaker. "I'm doing all right. I'm still not sleepy," she replied, sounding cheerful. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and joy. They talked about their day, shared jokes, and seemed to go closer with every passing minute. By the time the call was winding down, they had made plans to see each other again. With mutual excitement, they agreed to meet over the weekend, this time at James' house. James ended the call feeling happy and eager, his mind now filled with anticipation for the days ahead. Days passed quickly, and before James knew it, Saturday had arrived, another day off from work. That morning, he woke up earlier than usual, feeling a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Still half drowsy, James stood in the middle of his house, wearing only a vest and a pair of shorts. As he glanced around, his eyes widened in dismay. The place was a complete mess. Dirty clothes were scattered all over the floor, and a pile of unwashed utensils filled the sink. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully with his right hand while resting his left hand on his waist, his right foot tapping lightly on the dusty floor in frustration. "Where will I even start from?" he muttered to himself, exhaling heavily. His eyes darted across the room as he thought about what lay ahead. Suddenly, a sharp thought struck him, making his heart race a little. "She can find my house dirty," he thought, his face determined. Speaking aloud, he said, "She can find my house dirty. I have to make sure everything is neat." Determined to impress, James quickly bent down and pulled a large plastic basin from under his bed. Without wasting a moment, he began gathering the scattered clothes, folding the ones that were clean and tossing the dirty ones inside the basin. For the next 2 hours, James worked tirelessly. He scrubbed, washed, swept, and rearranged everything until the house looked spotless. By the time he finished, sweat clung to his forehead and his muscles ached from the effort. Finally, he collapsed onto the sofa, breathing heavily but feeling satisfied with his work. His eyes drifted to the wall clock. It was already past 10.
"She said she would be here by 10 a.m. Where could she be?" he said anxiously, his voice laced with worry. His excitement began to fade, replaced by creeping disappointment. He sat there for a moment, his face tensing with unease. Finally, he reached out with his right hand to grab his phone from the small stool beside the sofa. "Let me just call her to find out whether she's still coming or not," he murmured as he scrolled through his contacts, searching for her number, his heart pounding with anticipation. Before James could make the call, a knock at the door echoed through the house. His heart skipped a beat. "It must be her," he exclaimed excitedly, dropping his phone back on the stool as he rushed to the door.
When he swung it open, there she was, Amina, standing with a big, bright smile on her face. She looked stunning in a multicolored dress paired with beautiful high-heeled shoes. "Come in, please," James said warmly, stepping aside to let her in. "Thank you," Amina replied with a soft smile as she walked in calmly. "Have a seat. What can I offer you?" James asked eagerly, his voice bubbling with excitement. "Anything will do," Amina said politely, setting her handbag on a nearby stool before settling down. James quickly went to the kitchen and returned with 2 glasses of mango juice. They sipped their drinks while engaging in cheerful conversation, getting to know each other better. Laughter filled the room as they shared stories and memories. But then, Amina revealed something unexpected. She told James that she was a mother of 1 child, a little one who had just turned a year old. The revelation hit James like a thunderbolt. His eyes widened in shock, and he choked slightly on his drink, coughing as he tried to regain composure. His face instantly changed, the happiness and excitement draining away. It was as though he had just witnessed something terrifying. An awkward silence fell over the room, heavy and uncomfortable. This was not at all what James had expected to hear. Please watch out for part 2.